I was outside with my son. He's outside with mom right now. But she's like, you need to go do your work. But she's going to be gone at about noon, 12 or about 1 o'clock. So I'll be with my son, just me and him. So I'm going to take him out and we're going to go do something dad and son today. But he likes to spend time in the backyard. So we're going to be out there in the water with the water balloons. I've already got it all set up for later. Although he did go out there now. So I'm going to have to reset it up. But with that being said, good morning, everybody. Whether you're new or old, just remember, this is for entertainment purposes at the end of the day. I am not a financial advisor. Although I feel like I do a very good job on the charts, I feel like the information's on point, and I think the technicals will lead you in the right direction. It still, at the end of the day, has to be your idea, has to be your vision, and it has to align with what you're thinking before you make a decision. Don't just blindly make a decision based on what somebody else says. Even if you do trust what I'm saying over the years, you still want to, at the end of the day, be in control of your portfolio. And for that to happen, we have to be on the clearest page possible. So I will do my best today to show you the overall setup, the overall feelings of where we could go next, but also where, if you're not in this for the long term, where you could look for a bailout area, if you could look for a reset, or if we would have to go back down into a further bear market, what that could look like. But for now, I'd like to focus on, in today's live, more of, we're set up in these daily time frames, we're set up in much larger formations, and we're on the verge of getting a very big signal from Ethereum, although it hasn't happened yet, but we're still trying to see when alt season confirmation would happen. So there's a lot of things that still have to be decided here. There's a lot of things that could still go haywire. And short of quantitative easing, which will come, and we're getting very close, you know, we're getting into that the third quarter of the year, which is crazy to think that already. We're going to end up getting rate cuts. It's unavoidable because that's what the USA is going to do, because they can't afford to pay their interest on what they owe. So you can't have interest rates higher. So you just have to think about what's going on in the grand scan, you know, in the grand pattern at least. To just be like, oh, well, you know, in the next 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 9 weeks, it might look like that. It's a lot larger than just the next 3 weeks. But it can bring us into a micro movement to where we might understand better, you know, the objective of the market. So good morning to everybody. Remember to give thanks to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ on this. I always say most holy of days, not because it's Sunday, just because I look at it's the point of the end of one week meeting the start of another. Some people have the emotion of, oh God, the weekend's already ending and it's back to work tomorrow. Some have the feeling of, there's a lot of different things. So when you look at risk assets on a Sunday, all the world's emotions are going to go through your body right now, and through your mind, body, and soul, let's just say. But the worst thing you can do in a risk asset is start to trade when you're on an emotional disposition. Or when you're looking, let's just say you've got your electric bill due on Thursday. You're $150 short right now. You're looking at risk assets saying, you know, I've got $1,000 sitting here in the bank. I know it's for my house payment, but if I could just find a 17% move here, or if I take $100 here and put 10x on leverage, if I could only find, yeah, you know, and that's the areas we start to go. And when we start doing that, we start to get into a negative spiral. And the problem with that is, in a risk asset, you turn the casino-like feeling on in your brain. Once you turn the gambling side on, it's over. If you're in that gambling mindset right now, you're not in the right spot. I can tell you for a fact, if you're in the gambling mindset right now, you're going to get burned. There's a reason why 95% of leverage traders in risk asset, at the end of the day, over any consistent length of time, are losing money. There's also a reason why 65% minimum of swing traders lose money in crypto, period. Because once you start swing trading, it's that gambling-like feeling. Okay, we're up 10% today. I can't possibly lose that 3%. I can get more there, and then you start to run the numbers, and it doesn't make sense, because based on just human emotion alone, there's no way to have that carry over and flip. Once you start flipping in and out, the dopamine starts going. And then it leads to, well, you know, I like X, Y, and Z, and right now I only have XRP, but I do like XLM and XDC. Well, what if I put a 2X on XRP, take $17,000 out of it, Now I can 2x XLM. I can once you start going down that mindset, you start to deplete from your portfolio by the simple fact of, well, it's easy to ride a 1x trade whether you're up or down. Go at twice the pace. It's always fun when it's going up, but what happens at that first 2% correction? And now all of a sudden you're down 4. And now all of a sudden your portfolio is overweighted in a leverage style trade, even at 2x. And now you can't afford your position in spot. Now you've got to go even farther because you lost money. Now it spirals to a 3x. It's okay. All I have to do is 3x and I can cover all my positions until you got to go to 4 and 5 and 10. Once you get to 10, they can go, that's all ours. They can liquidate you in the drop of a hat. How many of you have been down that road? To an extent. Or how many of you are dealing with that right now? That's why they try to get you, hey, we got all these fancy bonuses if you trade leverage in a certain positioning. Or hey, blah, blah. It's the same thing with, it's a whole bunch of stuff. So the bottom line with all of that is, if we maintain on a 1x trade, you maintain your portfolio in a proper positioning and don't put yourself in a disposition, we can win at this game. And yeah, it's very volatile right now. But the fact that we are in 1x allows us to play these patterns out. And a perfect example of trying to play something out in the long term. We've done this with XRP for so long. And if we were in a 2x trade, a 5x trade, a 10x trade, it would not have felt so right. And right now, looking at XRP in the 4-hourly, we can obviously say that it's possible that we have a head and shoulders forming here. Just like we do in the rest of the market. We can see that. But it doesn't mean it has to play down. It could just be consolidation in higher time frames. We don't know. We targeted it out just in case it fell out, so we would know that it goes towards that 250. But that doesn't have to happen. It can rotate back up. We can look at it from the fact that maybe we need to come back up here and top out again. But in the daily time frame, we never fell below the 20. You know, we're still holding that layer of support. But yes, there are warning signs here that maybe it's not looking so hot. But if you look at it from a bigger perspective, and we will, you start looking at it from the, well, I've got so many charts. I'm trying to see which one would be the best for this. Definitely not that one. Because if you look at it from the cup, I like it from that perspective as well, but I don't have the cup draw here. Let's do it on this one. So we can look at it as, oh, we might have a head and shoulders in the smaller time frames, like in the 4-hourly. But we also did work on this. And then we started to build. And then if you go farther back, this is how you build out. And we had this little cup. Now we put in this little handle style. So it's one of those things like, are we done? Or is this the start? Because if this is the breakout of a cup and handle that we've been watching for a long time, it's got a pretty explosive move. Even if it doesn't break out here and we have to back test farther down to 250 where that gap area was, and so on and so forth, it's not done. It's just maybe we have to consolidate farther. Maybe it builds something, but we also have to watch this area because this is double top area when you come up here, especially when you're looking at it in the smaller time frames. You know, this is where you could get into double top. We've technically hit that targeted move on the way up. And now it's, if we can hold this, then we can get into the farther areas. But right now, yeah, in the smaller time frames, you're going to start to see a universal building right now. You know, in different assets. You're going to start to see the same structure forming across the board. These head and shoulders that may be head and shoulders. And look, even with the breakdown there, we came down and back tested over the weekend, or came up to the resistance. Now you can make this wider to fit the agenda. I understand that, but the breakdown was there. Now, if you want to go into a second layer, that's 100% fine by me. But don't forget the objective of when we broke down in the back test, because I understand we're forming something like this, which is technically a bullish continuation if we can hold. But we also fell out of this, so to get back into the bullish area, we've got to break back over this, which now you can see the resistance. So now the fact it's there, I'm just going to open it up. Because now you can open the pattern up because we hit that point. Now it's up to this pattern to come up over the resistance, over the top, And that's at 47.2 for XLM. And I'm just saying, just like XRP, you can see the rotation where it could possibly happen. But at the end of the day, if you're playing these patterns, you've got to play it out to failure. And the only way to play it to failure is to let this daily golden cross fail. And the reason why you play it to failure, I mean, you've already got the 20 cross to 200, the 50 cross to 200, the 100 cross to 200, without that volatile next move breakout. And the reason I say that is because if all of this is confirmed, a lot of this consolidation will end up being bullshit at the end of the day. And then it's just a trap to get you out. Especially if this pattern is meant to finish. The length of this pattern, and let's just say we get on top of the breakout, I mean, you're talking about 70 cents plus. And that's what we're looking to finish. And if not, we've got an issue. And just like back here, I had an early target of 80. And then it goes farther if you build in. But that's what we're building out right now. So whether or not it plays out, that's to be determined. And where it ends up playing. But now we've put ourselves in a spot. If you're in these positions, you're not really able to sell it out at 43 or 40. You've got to wait for this to bust down. So now if you're playing a positioning here, this is where we're more direct here again. If you're buying right now, you got to get out of the 2 hour, the 1 hourly, the 30 minute. And if you're looking to play a pattern, this pattern, unfortunately, if you're buying today, if you're asking me, Tom, should I buy today? Well, you could. But if you buy it here, you've got to make the commitment to buy it until XLM loses that 39-cent hold. That's how simple this is. How come we never talk about FAT, FET, or... I don't know, not part of my interest board. I can only have interest in so many tokens. They don't meet my agenda. If I knew more about them, maybe, but I've talked about FET in the past. Back in 2022, when it was outrageously overpriced. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, and it doesn't hit my interest pool. If that makes sense. I can only talk about, let's see, all of these. And all of these. You know, my brain can only work in so many ways, and all of these. So, like I said, I'm not a wizard, and I don't know everything. But I do know a lot. And I know if you align with the tokens I align with, you're going to do well. But I can't speak to why we don't talk about other ones. I mean, I can only speak to the fact that I can only know so much. My brain can only have so much information to go through all these tokens. But FET's one that I don't even know what the other one is, to be honest with you. You're asking a question, I'm just giving a direct answer, the best I can. Nothing more, nothing less, my friend Frankie Fresh. And thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. Greatly, greatly appreciate that. The reason I'm trying to be so direct here is because the overall fundamentals and the formations here, they're not going to change based on a not based on an asset right now. They're all looking exactly the same. So when I tend to bring in different ones that I don't usually talk about, I tend to like to wait until we get more towards a bear market. Right now we're stuck in, yeah, I'm very happy with positioning. That's why I'm not doing nothing here until it breaks down. You know, I'm just going to let it play. And there's a very big chance we could get burned, but there's also a very real chance that this is going to go up to the next layer within this fundamental formational setup. Like with IOTA, we've got, again, in the smaller time frames where you can see a possible head and shoulders developing. But a lot of times when you're in the smaller time frames, if the larger time frames are meant to be more, they kind of play off of each other in the opposite way. So we have to see what wins out. Sunday is the most dangerous day of the weekend. There's no doubt about that. It's shakeout central. And you could get shooken out here with Algo, with IOTA. And we'll get into IOTA. But they're both in very similar formation. So I want you to see it doesn't matter. I could say IOTA Algo and it would look like the same thing except at a different price. You can look at the total and the total's doing the same thing as the alts, the total 3 at least. But you can interchange right now the asset. And then some ask sometimes about why I don't have more tokens, and I'm actually trying to condense into less, to be honest. Only because I see the same setup, and it does make it a lot more difficult when you've got 17 different things to go through in your own portfolio to try to figure out buy and sell points when every single one of them, if it's an IoT, it's an IoT. If it's an ISO, it's an ISO. If it's a mainframe, it's a mainframe. If it's not, it's not. There's different parts of the IoT. There's different parts of the ISO. I'm trying to bang out the biggest important parts of each section. So to me, the biggest important parts are H-bar on one side, XLM on another, XRP on another, XDC on another, IOTA, Algo. I like those segmented pushes. I like for the smaller IoT like VeChain. But IoT is a big part of it for the mainframe. I like Algo for different currencies in different countries because they've already got a lot of different deals. You know, I like different things. I like Dent for what it offers. I like Band for where it's at. I like different things. I like data, especially for ISO that's undervalued. So apples to oranges, I don't talk about FET because I'd rather own data, if you want me to put it bluntly, without hurting feelings of people that like opposite. Because not everybody's going to like my particular tokens. I think the streamer token has big utility in different ways for when we go to this next frontier. So like I said, I'm not right about everything, and nor do I like all the right ones. I just have a different, my mindset goes to different places. You know, so I'm trying to bang out different areas, but at the same time, I miss a lot. Like, I like Alchemy Pay for different things. I like Zill for the Zaliqua network and for the fact that when we get into this gaming front or these meme-style digital token, digital play, digital pay scales, or digital landscapes, Zill's already got a beautifully designed and beautifully put together setup, and it's had it for years. It just hasn't been integrated in the way it needs to by the mainstream, but it's starting. I think a lot of these ironically line up with like some of like GTA, the new GTA that's going to come out, even though it's been like forever. Mind you, those games started when I was a kid. I remember when I turned, I think I was like 17 or 18 when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, and I asked my dad for it for my birthday. And when he brought it home, I was shocked. And I remember going from Grand Theft Auto 2 to the third one, and you're like, oh my God, look how real it looks. And then you go back and play it now. You're like, look at these stick figures. But look at the game. It was so much better. But I think a lot of the digital is going to align with the gaming that comes next. Although they got to be careful because these microtransactions are going to get too much. And then they ruin a whole ecosystem. So I don't know which direction it's going to take. But I'm trying to align with what's coming next, with what we can see based on what we do. I don't know what's going to happen here in the micro. That's why I keep saying it's dangerous right now for you to buy if you don't have any conviction to what you want to do later. Because literally you're sitting right now, if you're in these tokens, and yeah, they're at yearly low, you know, not the yearly low, but they're at 4-year lows. Besides, you know, where they came up from the very, very bottom. But if you look at these even going back 4 years, it's not about time in market. It's about timing it. So if you're timing a rotation, aren't you trying to time the bottom instead of being in the top? And what I mean by that, even if we just go back to here in 21, I mean, you're getting it for 9 cents on the dollar, 8 cents on the dollar, even now for IOTA. If I would have told you in 21 when IOTA was at 265 that we'd be sitting here on July 27th of 2025 and we're debating whether or not to buy IOTA at 25 cents. I think we would have been kicking our own asses, you know, because this is what we were talking about in 21 when people were jumping off ship, because these are the prices, and we bought them lower. That's not the point, but the point is where they're at now, and we were in and out, but we made significant rallies in 24 to 5. But the point is here is from today. It doesn't matter about yesterday's profit. I want to know what you're doing for tomorrow, or are you going to be afraid? Right now, Algo from 21 is down 90%. So again, you're getting it 10 cents on the dollar. So are you playing that upper rotation? Are you buying high, selling low? Or selling low, buying high? Because if you're on the buy low, sell high side, everything down here is the low side. If you're on the buy high, sell low, well, you gotta sell right now and buy it when it goes back up. Everything's looking dangerous. Very dangerous. You're taking it out of context. It wasn't a criticism. What do you mean, Frankie Fresh? You're taking, I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just talking. I would dare say you're taking it out of context. I'm telling you let me step back. I'm explaining why I don't own something. That's it. I'm not criticizing you at all. I just was I was telling you why I'm not into FET yet. And I said I might not be the right or wrong decision. I'm not exactly sure how we escalated to here. Let me just say hello to everybody. Don't take me too seriously. I'm trying to give you laser focus on these tokens. Period. I apologize if I made you feel some kind of way. I really do. Crypto Plumber, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your second month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. Mark Caston, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Alec Tony, welcome, and I appreciate you continuing in Tom's Army, going from your second month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News to the 3 months plus with the XRP Meteor. How awesome is that? Crypto Plumber 589, thanks for being in Tom's Army for your second month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. XRP Rippers, welcome, and thanks for being the #1 top fan. It says, wow. In this live, Alec Tony was 3, and Crypto Plumber was 2. Frankie Fresh, welcome, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. And I apologize, Frankie Fresh. Sometimes when I'm in my serious tone, it can be misinterpreted. I'm just trying to be laser focused so everybody understands with the moment we're in right now and what you have to expect with cryptocurrency. That's where I make a big mistake sometimes. I'll read through my charts, and then I'll have the same tone when I read through a comment, and then it makes me sound like an asshole, and I apologize for that. That is completely not my intention. Like I said, I really do apologize for that. I got to remember that sometimes. I got to turn it off when I'm reading the comments. That is my bad. But I want you guys to understand how serious of a moment we're in and what you have to do objectively in these tokens right now to. And XRP is not in that same, when we talk about buy low, sell high, XRP is not exactly in that spot, is it? Because XRP is actually, a good 100%, well, not 100, about 60%, 70% above where we were before. So that philosophy of buy low, sell high, were you buying low and selling high, or are you buying up here for XRP and ignoring it down here? If you're holding from down here, that's a different story. You're not buying up here. But at some point in a 10x, you should have taken back your 1x. So you can ride XRP into the sunset for free. And then you don't got to worry. Crazy Paul, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor, along with Oliver Marks and Jorge. Jorge, thanks for being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. Says, hello, people. Hello, Tom. Hit that like button and consider subscribing to Tom's channel for the best technical analysis on YouTube. I sincerely appreciate that message. I do. That's important. At least just hit the like button and get more people in here, because I do tend to offend people. Not even on purpose sometimes. I was watching a movie yesterday and somebody's like, don't yell. And the guy's like, I'm Italian, I have to yell. I can't help it. It's like, I'm Italian, guys, mixed in with Lebanese. I can't help it. It all comes out. Let's see. Calvin, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Hamza, thank you so much for continuing in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. What a beautiful gesture this morning. What a beautiful gesture. Dennis Smith, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. Ben B, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor, along with Papa Wheelie, who is doing work on a Sunday morning, driving to work. Be safe, my friend. It's always a blessing. It's always a blessing to be able to do the work. It's never the funnest to do it on a Sunday, but oftentimes we can get ahead by doing work on a Sunday, or help us stay more in line with our bills and stuff, because we can make a little bit of extra. But take care of yourself, my friend. Let's see. Mosey here, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Josh Jolly, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. And don't make Josh mad. You got to hit that like button like he said. He said smash that like button. And Dennis Smith, thank you also for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens, along with Garbanzo. All three of you, the trifecta. The holy trinity of good in this case. I'm still watching Phil Collins. Say a prayer for Phil Collins. I have a bad feeling what they're about to do to him in the second trinity. But that's for another time. Hamza. I love that you shared the XRP Meteor. Andrew Trimus, welcome in. Let's see. Raina, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. I greatly appreciate that. Brighton says, hey, Tom, I watched the video on TikTok. Uh-oh. And the guy was stating that XRP isn't going to high prices because banks use RippleNet already for cross-border payments without using XRP. What are your thoughts? Well, I mean, I think you all know my thoughts on the extremely high prices of XRP. They're not in my playbook. So I get a lot of people offended. That doesn't mean it can't go $10 to $20 and it can't do things like that and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think it was meant to go to 1,000 and 5,000 and 10,000 simply by virtue that they have 100 billion tokens. I don't think it was meant to do that. I think that's too high of a trend. I think maybe, you know, you see what happens at 10, you get that first move to 20. We bought at 34 cents. You get a nice, you know, $100,000 to $200,000 return. Some people are going to be pissed. We're going to be floating into the promised land. And then we're going to rinse and repeat when it backtests, if that's the case. But I don't think that it's going to, I think a lot of the misdirection on XRP is the fact that here's the truth. Think about it. Because of all of the influencers, anybody who bought XRP at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 cents, $1, they're not going to sell it. Even if it gets to $10, they're going to sit there and say, hey, it's going to 1,000 or 5,000. They're never going to take their money, ever. And that's fine, but at a certain point in the game of investing, what's the by definition, what does investing mean? You're investing into your future, but can you truly ever invest into your future if you never take $1 in return? It's great if it's on a screen, but what is it really doing for you? It's the number one question when we're trading now. We don't have to go into, like when I first started trading, I had to go into a broker's office just to make the trade. You did it on a piece of paper, and that was even evolved. Because back in the day, I mean, you had to go into like these you couldn't just go into like a Scotch trade or anything like that back, like when I was in my college years when they started all that crap. But now you literally are doing it on a screen. So by virtue of just doing this on a screen, it's almost like repetitive. Like, hey, look at, I turned, and this is the major mindset flaw. You have $3,500 in your account. You gain $1,000, like, ooh, $1,000, now I have $4,500. You lose $1,000, you're about to jump off the bridge. Oh my God, my 35 is 2,500. How could I have let this happen? Never the thought of reinvesting. Never the thought of, hey, I bought this position because I think it's going to be good over time. That's what we did with XRP. It's been good over time. From 23, it went from 34 to 25. It's at 318. That's a good investment. A bad investment would have been, well, XRP's at X amount. I'm going to buy Algo and buy it at, let's see where it was at 23, because I said this back in 23 with a lot of these. And XRP would outperform early. And yes, these are still good buys in 23. Don't kid yourself when they're at the bottom. Algo was at 8 cents. Remember when we used to do FOMO Fridays and Winning Wednesdays when we were buying these at these prices and Motivated Mondays? We did this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it took us a while, but we did $50 every time. And we were able to build up H-bar to a ton, over 10,000. Algo over 10,000. There were so many we did this with. And we rode it into the promised land, and then we sold when we got to the promised land. And then we're trying to make sure that we don't miss the actual push. And that's what I mean. We're in that same setup. This is the biggest distractionary point you're going to find in these charts. It's not just XRP. These are the big, and it very well might be right now because of the big push XRP got. And the reason why they have it here is not to hurt us who are already in it. Think about this. Has nothing to do with us. Because if you have it at, let's just say sub 50 or 75, you're already moving in, like for us, every 35 cents is a 1x from our initial start in our portfolio. Well, somebody who buys it at $3.18, 35 cents is barely over, what, 11%? So you look at it across the board now, are you more likely that XRP goes, just hear me out if you're buying right now. Is it more likely that XRP goes from $3.18 to $6.36, or is it more likely that XTC goes from 8.8 to 17 cents? Or is it more likely that XRP gets up to $6.36, or is IOTA going to be at 42 cents? Or can Algo get to 54? You see what we're doing here? That's what you need to ask yourself if you're not already invested in XRP. Because I dare say the distraction here is they put it up to the price. It's worth to be a little bit closer now. But now the distraction comes with all of us on YouTube saying, hey, XRP is going to infinity. Well, I've never preached that message, so you can have an open head, an open mind, and an open heart to invest in what are severely undervalued still. And that would be the ones that are 7 to 9 cents on the dollar. And our IoT and ISO tokens. I don't know enough about FET to give you a real honest opinion. I used to cover it back in the day. I seen a little bit of very bad manipulation on exchanges back in 23, I believe it was, or 22. And it just, I haven't looked at it since then. It hasn't been one that's been tugged to my heart. It's one that I always thought was, I don't know how to put it exactly, but I seen better routes, but there's no doubt about where it's at. You know, it's down way from where it was. But I remember watching this in 22 and 21 when we were doing this, when it was in the $1.20 range. And then I remember it coming all the way back down. And I just stopped watching it after it started making this progression in 22. And it was all the way down at $7, got up to $3. Now it's all the way back down. So, you know, it's not that I didn't used to watch it. We used to watch it. It just, it never aligned with what I liked. I don't know. There was something about the way YouTubers talked about it, and I kind of felt like it was one that I could get paid to promote. And I don't like to hold ones that they would literally pay me to promote, because that means they're pump and dump tokens at the core. Even if they are IoT and ISO, they're not going to run the way I want them to. Started to be a problem with XRP for a long time. They started giving influencers, like, I'm sure you can see. So, it's a lot of problems with crypto. There's a lot of problems with a lot of tokens. There's a lot of problems with how the liquidity flows. There's a lot of problem with the algorithm if you don't understand it. There's a lot of problem with the way that the bots, and that's how you end up with the exact same formations across the board with certain lines of tokens. And then you get a certain class that's not exactly the same, but it ends up behind, just a segment behind. Because I always will say money finds yield. And that can mean within different cryptos. Like people are watching right now, for example. You've got the daily golden crosses that we're trying to play out on some of these, right? Like IOTA and HBAR and Algo and all these other ones that are set up in this kind of a situation, right? Okay? Well, then you go back to the ones that are set up just behind. And you've got like Dent, I believe is one of them. Just starting to break out of this daily. Hasn't made the golden cross yet, which means it's got a volatile burst, then a volatile breakdown, then a volatile breakout. One step behind. So people are going to look at that. Dent, I believe, or not Dent, Band, same thing. It hasn't even come up to the 200. So it almost looks like a rising triangle. And if it is, it's getting ready for a burst. But that's one that's behind. It hasn't done the daily golden cross. So you've got a whole slew of them that are behind. You've got ZIL, farther behind than most, just like Band. And they look objectively like they could break down in the 4-hourlies, but when you look at them in the daily, you're like, well, you know, I mean, I've seen a lot worse than this. But it also makes it to where you've got to ride these out until they actually break down. Another one would be VeChain. VeChain's doing the exact same thing as ZIL. It hasn't broke. It's not in the exact. Well, actually, it is pretty damn close. So objectively, it's like some are above and some are below. You know, ACH had the artificial breakout, but it's in the same spot. These are the ones that are behind. Now, whether they objectively break down or break out, we honestly don't know until it happens. So, you know, this is the good stuff here. This is good stuff. This is how you look into it a little bit deeper and say, well, what's really going on here? Because if I was looking at this as a betting man, it's like, well, you know, I know there's a lot of objectively bearish looking things, which we could be bearish for a few weeks, but at the end of the day with this daily, and this doesn't mean in 1 hour, 12 hours, or 27 hours, or 72 hours. This means by the time this is done and it plays through, it pretty much in a 75% ratio should play true, which means 75 out of 100 times, this daily golden cross and these potentially building daily golden crosses are actually going to play true to their full potential, which means there's a 75% chance that this is the enlightening phase of the perfect setup for alt season to get going. Doesn't mean it's been confirmed, doesn't mean it's fully funded, doesn't mean it's fully set up, but it means there's a 75% chance by the time this all plays out, Ethereum's going to be plus $5,000. Come on, girls. All right, sorry about that, everybody. I wanted to let my kitty out. Hamza, thanks for continuing in time zone for 3+ months with the XRP meteor. I don't remember if I said that or not. I think I did. Kyle Kupiak, welcome in. Cape Cod. Kyle, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge down there in Massachusetts. Let's see. Mike is flare on your radar? Yes and no. The only reason not is I don't really like to hold things that they artificially inflate the supply by giving you rewards for it. Even though, yes, you can get rewards for other things. I just think that they put so much into it. Like, there's so many tokens that continue to build, and there's so many that are still promised through rewards. It almost seems like a useless bet. Yes, it does go up 3, 4, 5x at times, but it always gives it back. I'm looking for assets that I can hold on to for a lengthy period of time, unless it tells me this whole cycle just gave up. And if that's the case, if I got to get back some of it, I will. Let's see. Hopefully the live is coming across to where it's more understandable too today, because I tried yesterday to be more direct than just the fact that understanding a wider scope of pattern, a wider scope, and a little more detail besides just like the 2 and 3 and 4. I mean, like the overall scale, like I'm trying to show today as well. Because until they break down, a lot of people are micro trading right now, and that's what I wanted to get away from. These are not swing trading moments. These are more, hey, we've been doing this for a while. Now it's that very volatile state to where we could balance out a little bit, and we might not get exactly into alt season, but you can't sell it short until it tells you. A lot of indicators are lagging indicators. A lot of indicators people use are forward thinking that usually don't even pan out. But what can pan out are what you're seeing within the charts, like within the actual technicals. And right now we're in a dicey spot right now. Right now we're technically, this is, like I said yesterday, I believe, no, I don't want to say like I said. So in yesterday's live, and we've been talking about how this is the back test for alt season. If we can hold this and then push out, we can get into alt season. However, we still have to get over this very, very dicey spot, which, yes, we're technically over and we back tested, and that's great. I feel great about that. But until we hit and break this total resistance where we topped out here, let's get it close. We've got to get over that area. So when you're looking at that, because you're going to want to break this. Once you break this, there's nothing. Now you can get over. You can actually, it might be a little bit higher now that I think about it. Yeah, well, that gives you a lot higher, though. So we'll worry about 4,800 when we get there. But that's the upward momentum, and we have to be above this area. There's no doubt. There's no second guessing. We have to be over this area. And now that we're on top of it, change this to orange so you can see that it's the same. Oops, wrong orange. There. So now that we have that set up, and if it breaks out here, which it's trying, and I understand all the indicators that are pointing at bearish, but the main indicator of all, the technicals, are pointing this bullish right now for Ethereum. And until it breaks down, we have to honor that. And yeah, it might not pan out. That's the thing with technicals. They don't always break out. But if we want XRP to break $4, Ethereum has got to use this as a bullish handle here. or a bullish breakout out of this rising pattern that's finally broken up. You use this, even if we only go up to 4,100, there's a very real chance that a lot of altcoins can take this as a 20 to 50% springboard, even on a $300 move for Ethereum right here. That's how baked in they are in these alt tokens. So don't give up before it's time to run away, is all I'm going to say. You know, don't... Wow. Okay, somebody is loaded today. My son just grabbed 3 bags of goldfish and Funyuns.
4 bags.
Oh, 4 bags. It's good to see he wants to eat something by now today, but not so many. Let's see. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. And I think my brain is like, whoa, I see a lot of different things from a lot of different people. And I think it's the micro part that burns us out, because we're trying to just look at it from this sense. And if you're looking at it from a trading standpoint, okay, I understand. But if you're looking at it from a longer investment standpoint, the 2 hourly is going to drive you insane. You know, it's really going to drive you insane. Just look at it from the basis. You know, if it's meant to top out here and this is a double top, and then it comes back down and we lose 35.64, well, sorry, guys. You know, we gave it a run, but we're obviously early for alt season, right? Even though it seems like it's late because it's been so long, but we're starting to see the early signs here. Money has started to flow a little bit out of Bitcoin, and that money has been flowing into Ethereum, and it's pretty obvious. Ethereum's come up from 20, or not 20, yeah, actually. Ethereum came up from like 2,100, 2,500, yeah, let's just say 2,300 on June 23rd, and look where Bitcoin was. When we came down, let's see. Actually, this is when it bounced back up. Because we came down here with Bitcoin way down here. But this is just catching up to where we were at. So, I mean, if Bitcoin's come up, what? It's come up some. We've come up about 15% maybe. And now we've been stuck, but still, the point is, okay, 20%, we want to make sure. So 20% with Bitcoin. And what's Ethereum done in that same stretch? Because this is important. I'm not talking about going all the way back to April, because we didn't do that with Bitcoin. I'm talking about from the last consolidation, Bitcoin's gone up 20% from that bottom. Ethereum's gone up 73. You see the difference? This is the diversion here. It's outpacing Bitcoin 3-1, almost 4-1. So this very well could be the directive here. Now money is starting to flow more out of Bitcoin, but we still have to have that overall confirmation, and we haven't got it yet. So it's been fun. It's been nice. But at the end of the day, we still haven't got what we're looking for yet. We haven't broke out of these areas. The daily's still set up, but we haven't got that confluence of volume. So, and still, like this week, it could be one of those cases where we start the week and we push. And then, like some have commented in the comments today and in the live, I've noticed the tariffs on August 1st. So, you know, that could be a black eye. We don't know how it's exactly going to be interpreted, but it typically isn't good for risk assets when you get to that point. But we haven't done anything. We're still in that same exact setup in the daily. We're still in these golden cross, or the ones that are just behind having the golden cross start to take place. Some of them are back testing the daily golden cross already. So I think DGB is one of them that's pretty much set up in a similar fashion. 2 hourly, you know, they all look dangerous. But then when you start to pull it back into the daily, you're like, well, this is another one that's trying to attempt this daily golden cross. And you should get a huge line of volatility. And this is the one that's going to pain me the most the whole way up, because of the issue I had with it and the fact that I can't trust their own wallet, so I can't hold it right now until it comes to BITUNIX or something. And I tried a different way, but then it took hours and hours and hours to have some kind of clarification, and that doesn't work for me either. So I encourage you to hold DGB, but until it's to a spot, If I can't even use their real wallet, it just, you all know the story. I'm not going to go through it again, but still in a fantastic spot. I mean, look at these. These are just begging if they hold. And even the sell pressure hasn't been that great. We had great buy pressure on the way up here for that little push. That sell pressure has been pretty non-existent. So that's a good sign. We need follow through. That's one thing I can say. We need follow through. If we get any kind of follow through, this is going to be spectacular. And it's going to leave a lot of people quivering on the sidelines if they're there. Because now they're going to have a decision to make when these, if they do bounce 20 to 50%, and it's going to be a big bounce if they do. These aren't building up this for no, they're coiling up. Either they're coiling up for a breakout or an unprecedented breakdown out of a moment like this that could send us into a multi-month bear market. If these break down, we're in a multi-month bear market, whether we want to admit it or not, is what's going to happen. And it doesn't mean it has to go down farther than 30% or 20%, but it's just going to chop until probably after you see the pumpkins if we do break down. If we go up, we'll chop down until after the pumpkins are done, and then by the end of the year, it's going to be a glorious and spectacular finish of the year. So we'd have 2 out of 3 segments here to end of the year pumping. 1 consolidation, and that's what I'm aiming for. Not 2 down, 1 up. Because the 1 up probably wouldn't even bring us back to where the first down was, and that would suck. Wait a minute. Mo, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon Badge. Cambo Vision, good afternoon. Mike Izza is... Oh, we already talked about that. Wendy, good morning, says, morning time. Your live yesterday was fantastic to see. Clean, concise, straightforward, and easy to understand. Thank you for taking the time to teach us that. Don't know. I appreciate that greatly. Yeah, I realize that I can't expect somebody on day 1 to know what we might know on year 5, or somebody in year 1 to be the same as year 5, person in year 2 to be in the same spot as the person in the second day. Some people have been through bull and bear markets. Some, this is the first time entering the market. So I definitely needed to do a better job. And again, today I think I could have done a better job still. Because I think I'm a little bit too on the moment right now, like trying to be not as joking today, but more like in a transparent focus. So we're like, hey, you got to hang on my words right now, because if you're looking for an overall investment, this is what you have to do, and this is the risk involved. So there is like a 28% risk attached right now if you buy it in these exact moments. Now, if you've been swinging it all the way up, obviously you have more funds than you started with, and that 28% is not going to be like somebody buying for the first time here. I get that. But the point is for an objective view, we're acting like this is day 1. And if you're buying right now and you don't already hold, and for transparency, all the ones I've talked about or all the ones you see on my list are ones that I actively hold, except, I believe, DGB, out of everything on this list. I mean, obviously the total and total 3 we use for General Dynamic. I don't own Ethereum and Bitcoin, so you can take those right out, obviously. If you're not new, if you're new to my channel, you won't know that. But I don't like either of those assets. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty straightforward here. I try to put everything on that I own. I say this is the forgotten list, because, and I could add a lot more to this forgotten list. But these are the truly forgotten. They're kind of in the depths of hell. These ones... And I probably should add DGB to this list, because I don't even know if it's forgotten about, because nobody really ever knew about it. So, but yeah, we're into the danger section here for a Sunday. This is where we're going to get that volatility. This is where you're going to have to, you know, we're going to have to try to figure this out here. Let's see. Songbird was 56 cents, and yeah, I remember Songbird when it was way up there, SGB, way up there. And seeing it now, it's almost scary in a sense to see how far it's fallen off the map. 006, and it's still not listed anywhere. It's so hard to find this particular one. This is one that I would have in a heartbeat if they would just put it on BITUNIX, in a heartbeat. And it is so. But yeah, it is pretty crazy. This one is probably going to make people very happy at some point. And it's in that same, hasn't made the daily golden cross yet. Trying to build up, holding the 200-day. This is where, if you're seeing it, it's squeezing this push. That's why a lot of them are definitely squeezing these areas. They are squeezing. Big time. Man, oh man. I just feel like with patience is a virtue right now, and the trader is going to get burned. It's got to be a longer goal, the longer objective here. Crypto Plumber says, I buy no matter the price. That's exactly it. See, I don't buy regardless. I buy if things are in a certain setup. Like XRP, I don't care. It could drop to $1.50. I'm not going to add anything to what I have, probably. Because I always look at it as, you had all that time at 30 cents to 90 cents. If you're going to just start dropping that kind of money at $1.50, that's on you. So now I'm trying to learn that lesson with some of the other ones that, hey, if you want to do it over time, who cares if L goes up from 9 cents to 27? It's still only 27. Who cares if IOTA's up from, 10 cents or 8 cents and now it's at 20? We're talking about pennies still. Pennies. What's going to end up happening at some point are these are actually going to jump up really high in comparison to where they're at, and people are going to get caught off guard. The next 30 to 50% move on some of these, people are going to be like, oh my God, I fucked it. Fucked up. Because even if you buy IOTA at 37 cents or 40 cents and I'll go at 55, I mean, it's a big difference. Now you're talking about a 1x is 55 to $1.10. As to where right now it would be what? 3x? So, I mean, it's all objective. If you think Algo, IOTA, XLM, XDC or something, HBAR, VChain, ZIL, XRP Healthcare, Data, Dent, Band, can only speak of what I own, of what I like, of what I have a narrative for. Just like I did with XRP. Even though, remember when I first started, when I was laser focused on XRP, and I wouldn't even cover any charts outside of the couple others. Like, I wouldn't even look at them. I didn't even acknowledge them. Now at least we've grown to the point where we can acknowledge them all, but still have a set plan. I think what happens to me sometimes is I get too caught up with everything else that everybody else wants, and then I forget about myself and forget about the objective that I had so long ago. I remember looking at these in 21 and saying, I can't wait for Algo to be 90% off. I can't wait for IOTA to be way down there. I can't wait for DGB to flip a 0. Looked crazy. And now I'm sitting here saying, what are you afraid of? Why are we afraid? Oh my God, we came off a 1x from the bottom, but the 1x was 99% down. On the grand scale, it looks like minute. So minute. I feel like the same way I did with XRP back in the day. When it was at 34 and 50 and 16, everybody's so afraid. But yet, what we were playing for was the several multi-dollar levels, not the penny levels. Like, for all the ones I'm talking about, I don't want them at pennies. I'm playing the 20s for the dollars. I want to put in 21 cents on the dollar and get back $2 on that, that dollar. And for the 20 cents I put in, the 21, like, it's so crazy. Remember with XRP, for every $1 we spent, we'd get like 3.05 XRP, and we're like, oh my God, we're getting 3 XRP per dollar, basically. And now all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, for every dollar, I'm getting what, 0.3 XRP. So it's like a 10x difference. Right now it's like, oh my God, for every dollar, I'm getting 5.8 IOTA. But down the road, it's going to be for every dollar, I'm only getting half an IOTA. Like, these are the moments. It's just, it might not be the final moment. There might be a moment where you can get it again for 10 IOTA for a dollar. But is it worth the risk? Like right now, Bitcoin, if it stays set up, should hit 126. That is built into this setup. But is it going to happen? It's the only questions we can ask ourselves. And then it's built itself into a higher port up 143 if this rising triangle continues to bust and hold and play. And it already has so far. The initial target out of the cup and handle to start the bull season was 122, which we've already hit. And then we had to say, well, we have to see the setup and if it can go higher. Well, this setup says it can. If it doesn't get invalidated, it says it can go to 143.8. Then we'll see if it can build something bigger. It is squeezing, though, because the volume's breaking down, which means that the interest is dying in Bitcoin a little bit as far as at the top, which is good because when you look at the same correlation, Ethereum's starting to grow in volume. So this is good. While Bitcoin's sinking a little bit in volume, Ethereum you can see is building volume. And this is good. We're starting to have a nice flip. And everything that I'm seeing, yes, we should be scared, but we shouldn't be afraid. We're scared in the sense that there's a lot of different ways this can go, but you should feel so good that you can understand it at a little bit of a higher level here. And I am. I'm very happy with what we've done. I'm very happy with the direction. And I'm very happy with taking control more of a pattern instead of just saying, oh, here's the 6-day pattern or here's the 2-hour pattern. No, here's the overall pattern of where we're at. And when you take a step back sometimes, instead of taking a look in, it does help. That's why a lot of times these days you see me looking at it from a daily perspective. As to where maybe before the breakouts back in November, you would have seen me looking at it from a 4-hourly or a 2-hourly more. I'm more interested in that daily landscape right now because from a long term, yeah, we're going to have all these micro movements in the 2-hourly. It's going to scare you in and out. But for the overall movement, you've got to have the daily pattern right now because we're playing off the daily setups. And right now, this daily for Ethereum does not look bad. It's made a new high. It's back testing the wick of the old daily high yesterday. You know, so that's what I got today. I don't want to mix it up. I had a very direct lining I wanted to come out with today. Sorry for stepping on some toes in the beginning, but I think by the end it's understandable. Like, I wasn't really stepping on toes. It's just the way I was delivering my delivery, let's just say. If you want it hot and ready, sometimes it's going to be spicy off the top. Brian Crow, yes, I did graduate high school. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Congratulations. James Dula, welcome in. I really appreciate seeing you in here. Not going there with the plumber reference. I'm not sure what that means. We actually have Crypto Plumber in the audience, Brian Crow. Is this a moment? Let's see. Are you eating crow here? I'm not sure what's going on here. Did I accidentally make fun of something that I didn't even know I was making fun of? Or did somebody else? Mr. Crow, I love making fun. I just like messing with you. I know you're laughing in your emoji, so I know you'll take that the right way. But sometimes when you're behind, you know, it's when you look at it, you're like, wait a minute, what happened there 25 minutes ago? Oh, that's awesome. Thank you all for helping waking me off these old and dusty links off of their Emil K. Kabiza. Garbanzo, welcome in. Garbanzo over 1 month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. That is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. Oh, there's somebody else I didn't see was in here. DL Volpes. Don't be fooled, guys. XRP founders are currently selling big. Hey, I am just getting opportunities outside of XRP at these points, aren't I? And I've been encouraging my audience to at least take your profit back, okay? So I actually encouraged my audience to buy twice as much XRP as they wanted to so that they could sell one half of it and keep what they wanted. That's what I did. Because, you know, I wasn't raised a fool, and I'm going to continue to be enlightened into the opportunities that were presented to us by XRP early in this market. Not later, but the early runner that allows us to have such a big grasp on everything else. Imagine my XRP from 38 cents turned into all those algo, a bunch of IO. Just think about it, all these extra things. You know, when you put $5,000 into something and it turns into well over 30, it does get to branch out into a lot of different avenues. And that's what we're trying to not miss the point of. But there's only so many things we can do because they're going to price out the retail slowly but surely. With XRP, it is priced out because think about it. We could buy 10,000 tokens for the amount of money it costs us to buy 1,000 for now. As to where you could take that same 1,000 tokens worth of XRP and buy a freaking majestic holding in something else. That would have been felt and been in the same kind of area as XRP was, that you know, a few short years ago. Hell, a few short years ago at 38 cents. But, okay, I'm gonna go. I think I've hit what I need. So I know I missed 2 donations. James Zula, thank you for the $2 donation. Good buy zone for data. Looks like a bear flag right now. Suppose it depends on what time frame you're looking at. Daily time frame you're still trying to play out. One could argue there's a small bull flag in the daily the way it bounced back up. And that could bring us up to the daily, but nobody knows if it's a good buy. I'm playing it because I think this is the start of a reversal, but if I'm wrong and it breaks down that setup, I got no problem letting go of it and trying again lower once it gives me that confirmation. But these are dicey areas. You don't know until you do. Yeah, it's given the illusion that it could break down, but it's broken down so much that eventually it's got to test these levels of breakdown. So remember, with all these gaps that are left below when we have a bullish bounce, there's those same levels that end up getting left on a bearish drop above. Now, if this is a bear flag, the best area to start is the 2 hourly. You want to look to see if this dot cross is going to hold. Right now, it's bouncing above, but if it falls below and invalidates this movement at once, I would say, in this case, because of what it's building, if it comes below 1594, you might get a reset. Even if it's not bearish, it would come back down here to the 145 on that small bear flag. Maybe a little bit lower down into here at 14. And then when you start looking at it, it doesn't seem like a big drop on paper, right? It's a big drop. So there's a lot to look at. So is it a bear flag? Is it not? In the smaller time frames, maybe. In the larger time frames, there's still a lot. There's still a lot of upward potential. It almost seems like a lot of these across the board are trying to trap us out. But we won't know until we know. And Wales, Josie Wales, thanks for being Tom Bowman for over 1 year with the I Told You So beds in the $9.99 donation. I'm going to call it a day here. Julie's going to be going soon. So I want to make sure we get everything set. And sound keeps popping in and out when you talk the last 5 minutes or so. Well, a beautiful time to end this. I'm underwater. Have a good day, everybody, as we're flooded